Hey everybody, it's TJ here, just making a video. You'll notice this one is not live. I'm doing this, recording it just to make sure I get everything right before it goes live. Anyway, I want to talk to you about a couple of things. One is elections. If you were, if you're in the Sangaree, Cane Bay area, previously you might have voted in South Carolina Senate District 44. Currently, your state senator is Brian Adams. Now, I checked my voter registration recently, and I have actually been redistricted to Senate District 39. That means I'm not going to be voting for Brian Adams against whoever his challenger is. I'm going to be voting between the current incumbent, Vernon Stevens, who's a Democrat, and Tom Fernandez, the Republican challenger. I know Tom Fernandez personally, and hopefully what I'm going to talk about in regards to him is taken as constructive criticism, to say the least. Now, so anyway, check your vote, check your sample ballot. Your sample ballot can be checked right now at scvotes.gov. Put in your information if you're a registered vote. You can get a sample ballot and you'll know what districts you're voting in. And from there, you can do better research about candidates and ballot measures and da-da-da-da. But where this applies to Tom Fernandez is the South Carolina venue crisis. Now, I've made plenty of videos about the VFW closing on account of insurance costs. And this isn't an issue that affects just the VFW. It affects a lot of small bars and pool halls and things across the state. From what I understand, about 3,000 such venues have had to close or are in imminent danger of closing because of the rising cost of liability insurance. The reason being is because of a 2017 law that is Title 61, Chapter 2, subsection 145, which requires all businesses that sell alcohol for on-premises consumption after 5 p.m. to carry $1 million in liability insurance. This, coupled with joint and several liability laws, is making the insurance costs go up exponentially, right? So the VFW used to pay about $10,000 a year for their liability insurance, and now that cost has gone up somewhere into the realm of $70,000 a year. You do the math, whatever that is, a $60,000 increase per year is just not affordable for a lot of businesses. So the part where Tom Fernandez comes into this is Tom Fernandez, of course, is running for the Senate. And last Senate session, a bill was being considered, and you can look this up. It was Senate Bill S-533 that would have amended the joint and several liability law to only hold businesses liable for their portion if it was under 50% liable, right? And we'll explain this in a second, a little bit. But if they were found under 50% liable, they only had to pay for their percentage of liability. If it was over 50%, then you get screwed in short words. Because the way the law reads now, if you go to 3 bars and then you get into an accident or something happens where you're at fault, all three establishments where you had alcohol can be held 100% liable for that incident, for over serving you, right? So you go to a bar at noon and you have a beer, one, not even a big one, like a little can, and then you go to another bar, you get a little more drunk, and then you go to a third bar and you spend the rest of the night there and you get smashed, right? And then you go out and kill somebody in a car accident. Bar A, the first person you drank, even though that beer, one, you only had one beer, and two, just because you were there, they are exactly as liable as the last place you stopped. Now, any reasonable person will see this is absolute bullcrap. And that's the reason the insurance rates have gone up, is because of this law and the way it's being applied. Now, because I am a prospective constituent of Mr. Tom Fernandez, I asked him personally through text message what he was going to do about these laws, this South Carolina venue crisis, right? Because it's not just the VFW closing down. It's about 3,000 businesses that are closing down. It's killing businesses. It's putting people out of work. It's losing tax revenue for the state. So it would be in pretty much everybody's best interest to find some way to not hold every single business 100% accountable for the same incident. Now, in the process of the VFW closing, I've talked to several state legislators about this. I talked to Mr. Jordan Pace, Jay Kilmartin, Joe White, and State Senator Sean Bennett, and also State Senator Brian Adams. Now, a couple of those guys were nice enough to come to the VFW and kind of explain things, which is where I found out about the joint several law liability law. I'm sorry, a little bit of heartburn. So anyway, so I text Tom Fernandez and I asked him, since he is a personal injury attorney, what he thinks about this law. And more importantly, what, as a senator, when elected, what he's going to do to fix it. Now, this isn't what we would call privileged information, because he says in his text the same thing he told Mr. Stuart Jones and Rob Harris when they asked. So this isn't a secret, unless only the three of us know this. But because he is running for the state senate, and because this affects the way that he will vote, I think it's pertinent. Now, he says, and I quote, "As a personal injury attorney, my participation in voting on it," and it being Title 61, Chapter 2, subsection 145, the law that requires all businesses serving alcohol to have the $1 million of liability insurance. My participation in voting on it would be completely unethical. And then he goes on to say, unfortunately, all the attorneys in the House and Senate vote on it, despite profiting from it. I would hope that they would recuse themselves, but knowing them, they will not. My personal opinion, not mine, Tom Fernandez, my personal opinion is that the law has to change because it's destroying businesses. But it would be completely unethical for me to participate in voting for judges or any other types of laws that lawyers profit from. End quote. That's a lot to unwrap. So basically, let's start with just the liquor liability insurance requirement and then joint and several liability laws. Tom Fernandez, as a personal injury attorney, also does car wrecks, workman's comp, this, that, and the other thing. So basically what he makes his money off of is representing people in civil lawsuits, right? Now, the way civil lawsuits generally work is, especially for drunk driving accidents, is your client is harmed, or there is obviously a perpetrator, and then there's victims. Okay, so somebody is harmed, and the lawyer for the people that are harmed sue the person individually and usually their insurance companies, because the fact of the matter is most people in the United States are judgment proof. They don't have a lot. You can't get $1 million from me, who, I've got $10 in my wallet right now. You're not going to get $1 million out of me, period. So you go after the insurance. All right. Now you go after the car insurance, depending on what their limits are and coverages, it gets capped, right? And that's not, if you kill somebody, is $1 million or $250,000 per incident really going to bring? It's not going to bring that person back. Is it even really covering what that person's life was worth? No. So that's why people sue establishments if they are found to have been liable for this heinous accident that killed somebody. All right. Who is benefiting, though? The trial lawyer. The trial lawyer is really the ones who benefit, because, and I'm not sure, I don't know the word, okay? So don't get me wrapped up in terminology, but essentially a lawyer's fee structure, especially a car accident attorney, is going to say, okay, I'll represent you for free for the time being, my fee will be a percentage, about a third probably, of what you get, right? So if you get awarded $300,000, I'm gonna take 100 grand right off the top of that. You keep the rest, right? That's how lawyers make their money, especially personal injury attorneys. Now, as you know, anybody driving in the morning knows that Charleston, the people of Charleston, great folks that they are, love to play bumper cars. So there's no there is no shortage of car wrecks in the state or the city for lawyers to make money off of, for sure. Um, anyway, so Tom Fernandez, being a personal injury attorney who also does car wrecks, is undoubtedly profiting currently from the liability laws for tortfeasors, right? So he's going after the insurance company, he's usually going after the individual, he's going after whoever he can to get a big settlement for his client. He's taking a third off the top and sending that person away home happy. Now, he's got great reviews. Most people are happy with him, except, people who realize that he's a right winger and write bad reviews somewhat frivolously, but he's got great reviews. I'm not going to say he doesn't, but undoubtedly, Tom Fernandez is profiting as a personal injury attorney and car wreck and everything else off these liability laws, right? No doubt. So him saying that he would not vote on it one way or the other, to me, is a little well, he says that voting on it is unethical, but I think that's unethical. Because it doesn't seem to me that it would be unethical to vote against your own self-interest. Now, what would be unethical, let's say I was a member of the U.S. House of Representatives, like I ran for that one time. And our approval ratings in the tank, laws aren't getting passed, nothing's being done, it makes the American life better, and we decide we're going to give ourselves a pay raise. Who gives Congress pay raises? Congress does. Would that be ethical? Hell no. You're not even doing the job, right? So voting in line with your self-interest when it helps you and nobody else is pretty unethical. So yeah, I could see where voting to increase the insurance liability limits would be unethical. But to help people out, to decrease either people's or businesses really, decrease their required insurance amounts or to decrease their percentage of liability, the only thing that does is hurts the trial lawyer. I don't see how voting to do that is unethical, unless the whole slice of pie is somehow unethical, right? So voting on it one way or the other, either for or against your own self-interest, I can see. So again, I can see how voting for your self-interest would be unethical. However, I don't see how voting against your self-interest would be unethical, unless because one way is unethical, then it all must be. So there's that. Now, what he also said was that he would not vote for judges. Well, so in South Carolina, that's the duty of the legislature. The legislature votes for judges. Then they send them to the governor for approval. That's the legislature's job for the South Carolina Constitution. So, one, you're not voting for tort reform. You're not voting for judges or any other laws that lawyers would profit from, is what he said. All right? Lawyers, licensed attorneys, are the only ones that are allowed to argue law. They're the only ones that are allowed to charge money to argue the law. Therefore, any law which can be violated and then argued in court is arguably the domain of a lawyer somewhere, i.e., they make a living off of it, a profit. So, if I'm sending you, if you want me to vote for you, and then you tell me you're not going to do your job because it would be unethical, then perhaps it would be unethical to send you to Congress or the General Assembly. Sorry. Maybe it would be unethical to send a lawyer who says he is not going to do parts of his job, maybe it would be unethical to send them to the General Assembly. That's my problem. So, granted, and this video is getting long. It's 15 minutes already. Sorry, I'm long-winded. But that's where I'm at. And I hope that getting this video out there will encourage people to act accordingly, to ask appropriate questions, and hopefully to vote their conscience come November. Anyway, again, video's running long. If you got any questions, my profile is public, and I will be more than happy to accept those questions. Thank you.